I'd like to acknowledge some important people from our community in attendance tonight, but first I'd like to list a few apologies. We have apologies from Peter Murphy MP in our state seat of Dunkley, Paul Edbrook MP, the state seat of Frankston. They are both not particularly well, so they decided to be safe to stay away. We also have an apology from Billy Detmer, who was the founder of the Frankston International Guitar Festival. It ran for many years in Frankston. And we also have a conflict with the Frankston City Council, as they're actually in next door having a councillor briefing tonight, and consequently they couldn't be here. But I'd like to welcome some important people in the community. So we have Alan Wicks, OAM, President of the Proudly Frankston Campaign Incorporated, the incubator of several of the community initiatives represented on tables here tonight. Rob Thurley, the Frankston Senior Citizen of the Year 2021, and stalwart behind the Proudly Frankston Campaign Incorporated and the Frankston Music Festival. Ginevra Hosking, the CEO of the Committee for Greater Frankston. Max Butler, co-founder of the Frankston Wine and Food Society, which came to life from the Proudly Frankston campaign. I'd like now to welcome our first workshop guest tonight, Heidi Louise Luckhurst, the President of the Mornington Peninsula Music Network.
I've been called upon to talk about our journey, the Mornington Peninsula Music Network, and where we began and where we are now, and how we made things work, and how we were able to support the music industry on the Mornington Peninsula. I brought Vice President Robin Griffiths to also have a chat with you tonight about his perspective from a promoter's point of view. And I'm a musician, so I understand all the artists and the musicians. So the Mornington Peninsula Music Network is a network. It began back in 2011. There was a bunch of musicians from the Balneary Music Night that wanted to sort of come together on a regular basis and play music and collaborate. But also they noticed there was a need for support for their music and their art. So someone from the Andrew, our name was, Ebsworth from the Mornington Peninsula Shire sort of started to build this network and make it into an incorporation and a non-for-profit. From 2011 to about 2016, there was really very little support in funding to make this network run. I came on board about 2016 and worked with Marty Williams, and he was the president at the time, and he'd sort of done his time and really had enough of pushing to get the support, and it just wasn't coming. I ended up creating a whole new committee through social media. There was about 8 people that came on board, including Robin here. I think we're the longest standing since 2016. It was last year, the end of last year, that we finally received some funding to support our network. And it was really great because during COVID it was a time when we were all feeling quite down and had no employment, and so to receive that funding, it just meant, wow, we can actually come out of COVID and start putting this money back into the community and advocate for live music, original music. I might pass you on to Robin. He's going to kind of read through about exactly what we do.
Hi everybody. Yeah, I kind of have 2 or 3 hats. So I'm Vice President of MPN Music Network. I also run Music on the Hill, or MOTH, which is a monthly event, or bi-monthly event, in Red Hill. And we bring singer-songwriters and bands to listening audiences there, and that's original material that's played, which is very important to me. That's why I got involved in MPN Music. So we put together, I was just thinking from your perspective, we didn't really know who we were or what we do. And that's, you really need to know that. So we put together kind of like a mission statement. So I'll read that to you. I've just literally just written it down from our website because hopefully I can read my writing. What is MP Music Network? We're an independent, not-for-profit organisation that represents musicians, venues, music businesses and music lovers from the Mornington Peninsula's contemporary music community. What does MP Music do? We advocate on behalf of our local music community, actively supporting its development and promoting diverse and accessible contemporary music. What does MP Music Network, who does MP Music Network work with? We work with the MP Shire Council and with Music Victoria to benefit our local music community. So that took quite a lot of doing, putting that together, but I think you guys probably need to get together and figure out who you are and what you want to do and who you're going to work with. Yeah.
I think what really, finally we received the funding last year, and that was mainly because of Music Victoria, and I thank them so very much. So our CEO past CEO, Patrick Donovan, and I became really good friends, and he said, you know what, I'm going to help you, we're going to get some funding, we're going to support the live music on the Mornington Peninsula. I mean, it's one of the biggest tourist attractions. We can't have artists being underpaid, and we need to support our venues also. So one day, Patrick Donovan, the mayor at the time, David Gill, myself, and Robin went into the CEO office of the Mornington Peninsula Shire and sort of demanded support. And from then on, we started to see things change and things happen. Our Arts and Culture department on the Mornington Peninsula Shire are really supportive towards the arts. They've been amazing, but obviously there's people above them as well that they have to convince. So leading up to finally receiving some funding, our committee, made up of, we have a retired lawyer, we have a couple of musicians, we have promoters, venue owners, punters, but everyone in the actual committee are really experienced and skilled in what they do. So our combination, we were able to deliver some great information and support. It did take us about 40 hours combined each week to develop our business plan and our mission statement, as well as build our social network. Since we've had funding, we are able to pay 4 people to run that network now. So everyone does 2 hours a week. We've got someone that's on social media marketing, someone that's on newsletter and website. We also have somebody that does the media and communications, and then we have someone that does the gig guide. Now 2 hours it's obviously a little bit more work than that, but the extra work's volunteered. But with those 4 main parts within the network, that's what's able for us to continue. So if we don't receive funding to support those 4 main roles continuously, then there probably wouldn't be no network. So social media is a big part of running the network, and if you do decide to, or if the Frankston Music Community Network goes ahead tonight, definitely needs to be some young people who understand social media, because the music industry and navigating that in the landscape is quite tricky if you don't understand IT and social media. Yeah, just on behalf of being a musician, music is an addiction. We all are passionate, and we do a lot of things for free. And we work long hours for free because we love it and we can't control it. Like, we're so addicted to just playing music. That feeling of expressing, it's like the adrenaline, everything. It's like, you know, skydivers jumping from a plane or something. So that's where we kind of underestimated, I think, because we do everything for free. Everyone expects it to be free or to play for free. So obviously you do need passion, but the funding really just uplifts and makes the job more enjoyable, and to also produce the best work we can produce with funding and support.
Just quickly, after 5 years of being involved, or 4 years, we now have 162 venues on our list on the Orange Peninsula, of which 40 are regularly on our gig list every week. So it'll be interesting to see what you guys can come up with in the next 2 or 3 years. From my perspective, it's all about original material. I'm not interested in going to see cover bands. I don't think that's art, but that's just me. Out of those 40 regular venues, there's 2 that have original material.
Are we going for time?
Any questions?
Yeah, is there any questions? Look, I'll tell you what.
Take it for members.
I finished my music degree in 2017. I'm 35, and I've been a mum since I was 19. So I did full-time study with young kids, and came out and had no idea where I was going to go. But what I wanted to do was music, and I wanted to make an income from it. So the network was my first kind of step into just delivery and getting experience. And the work that I do now, everything I do now is paid, and I love my job. I get up every morning, and it's all music and creativity, and I worked really hard to get there, but it began at MP Music Network. So if you love the music industry and you want to work in that industry or just support it or be part of it, maybe it's to meet new people or network with different individuals within the music industry, I think this is a really great start.
In Frankston, we've been working hard for many, many years since the guitar festival back in 2009 or something. I think we've cracked it, because next year the council are putting up quite a substantial amount of money, 1.2 million over 6 years, for a new signature event in Frankston. So one of the reasons for us to get going now, a year ahead, is because we need to build a capability to support that event. And to build that capability within the community to support quite a substantial event, which is going to change the perceptions of Frankston, you need to pay some of the people. You won't get there on amateur hour. So we really think that your model is the one we're going to copy, and we are. We're looking for funding for some paid positions and focus at the workshop level of young people and develop capability. Because that's what's going to sustain the new signature event in Frankston. So we're very grateful to come tonight, and we're going to copy it.
Yeah, we're happy to give away everything, and that, as I said, it's taken 10 years. It's taken 10 years to get where we are, and we're happy to just pass that all on to you, and to any council, because we just want to see live music supported. We do advocate very heavily for original live music, mainly because that's the art. It takes many hours to learn and write a new song before performing it. So yeah, we do advocate for original contemporary music, but we do also support all types of music. We're just here to So I guess one thing I always say to people is music or a song or a performance. It's not just about talent, it's about expression. So it's an energy, it's an expression, and for the artist to be able to do that and also affect the listener, then it can make massive changes to someone's mental health or well-being as well. So.
And Robin, just for everyone's benefit, we will have a short question and answer session at the end, but please feel free at the end of each of our speakers. If you've got questions, please ask them. I'd now like to call upon Simone Schinkel, who's the CEO of Music Victoria, to come up and address us.
Hello all, and thanks for inviting me to join in your celebrations and launch. As was mentioned, my name's Simone Shinkel, and I'm the relatively new CEO at Music Victoria. So I'm in my 5th week, perfect, baptism by fire is what I'm calling it in my recent employment. I'd also like to acknowledge that I'm here tonight and that we're gathering on unceded Aboriginal land. Music Victoria, for those of you who haven't engaged up until this point, is the peak body, and as the name suggests, it is for music here in Victoria. We are a member network, and we now have over 15,000 members, and that's growing exponentially. COVID helped that a lot, or not. Our role is to advocate for and to celebrate and support music in the state. In real terms, I guess that means that we run workshops, we offer guidance and advice, pick up the phone, give us a call, ask us a question, introductions, resources, professional development, and lots of discounts to things that the music community tends to need. Some quick stats, I guess, regarding why we value music so much is for every $1 that's spent on live music, $3 in value is returned. That's a good investment. And every Saturday night, more than 110,000 fans attend live music. In real terms, that's a grand final every Saturday night that music delivers. From our point of view, the Frankston Music Community Network is a great initiative and a real grassroots opportunity to support and hold on to the talent that you have got, as well as to nurture those that are the next generation. I am in my role today as CEO of Music Victoria because COVID made me reflect on what was important in my life, and I realised that all my favourite moments in my entire life had music elements to them. So I went, okay, I'm going to give that job a shot, and here I am. So all of those of you here in the room tonight, I know you're here because you have a passion, as do I. So I'm delighted to add to tonight an offering of free membership to Music Victoria for all of you in the room. And here's to the exciting times that this network will bring Frankston. Thank you.
Thank you, Simone. That's a wonderful offer, so everyone should really embrace that. Our final workshop guests tonight are Michael Tortoni, the Artistic Director of the Melbourne International Jazz Festival and the owner of the Jazz Lab. He might explain what the Jazz Lab is to someone like me who doesn't know. And we also have Hadley Agres, who is the CEO of the Melbourne International Jazz Festival. Thank you.
Yes, my name is Michael Tortoni. I am the Artistic Director of the Melbourne International Jazz Festival. I've been on this board for about 20 years and as Artistic Director for about 12 or 13 years. And it hasn't always been smooth sailing. We've gone through some very difficult times, but over the last 7 or 8 years, we've amassed a core staff that have amassed invaluable intellectual knowledge, and it's brought the festival to give the festival reputation not only in Australia but also globally. It's an invaluable reputation, and I guess the artists that appear at the festival are a testament of what the festival means out there these days. But I brought Hadley here, who is our CEO. He's a professional arts administrator and has been in the role for a couple of years now and is doing an incredible job. Before I introduce him, I'll just explain what the Jazz Lab is. It's a jazz club that runs 7 nights a week. it used to be Bennon's Lane Jazz Club, and 4 years ago I relocated, but we're open now 7 nights a week. We have been for almost 30 years. It's a long time. But by all means, come when you can. But look, to talk about the festival and potentially how we can participate and help, please welcome Hadley Agris.
Hi, as Michael said, I'm Hadley, and yes, as an arts administrator, it doesn't sound very interesting coming after artists, but it's bloody hard too. And I think with that in mind, and especially thinking about what's trying to get off the ground tonight, from what I gather, it's just really important to recognise the hard work that goes into these things. And I mean, Heidi mentioned it before. It's taken 10 years or so to get to where Mornington Network's at. And Michael alluded to it before as well. There've been highs and lows in our 23-year history, and that's sort of part of the journey and part of the experience. And I think it's important with that in mind that whenever you go on an exercise like this, from our point of view, to be ready for things to kind of change and adapt along the way. I mean, having clear goals and clear outcomes and a clear strategy at an early stage is vital, but then I would expect that to change, as the conditions and the network grows and as funding hopefully comes, then those outcomes and strategies can shift with it. In terms of our festival itself, it began as a grassroots, came from a community organisation itself, and correct me if I'm wrong, Michael, because you've been doing it a lot longer than I, but I think it was born out of Mod Salvat, the artist sort of community there, and it's only through people with passion who actually want to deliver something in its early stages for little or no return financially, that things grow. So I think that's probably encouraging for a network like this, and particularly when I hear from Robert that there's going to be a new signature event coming to Frankston. So I think as long as there are groups like this with the passion behind it, then I think that's the best way for those events to flourish and grow. And it's not without that community support and networks, and that means suppliers and artists and audiences and council and potential funders and potential champions. And if you can really bring those people along, I think that's where you find success in any kind of major event. And so with that in mind, I kind of wish everyone the best of success as it comes. It sounds like a great investment from council, and so may a group like this really find a way to capitalise on it and bring it to life. Thank you.
Now we know a little bit about the Jazz Lab. So thank you, Michael and Hadley. We'll actually open up the floor now for a question and answer session just for a few minutes. So has anyone got any questions they'd like to ask? Nothing's out of bounds at this stage. This is really a workshop. We're just bouncing ideas around. So if anyone has a question they'd like to ask, please ask it. We may not have the answers, but it might set the old grey matter thinking of how we can answer it. Yes?
How long have you been working to get to where we're at right now?
Okay, so yes, there is a steering committee. We actually refer to ourselves at the moment as the advisory board, for want of a better term, and that comprises myself. The other people might like to stand up and identify themselves. We've got Brian Coughlin down the back there. We have Rob Thurley in the back, and we also have Magnus Thurley, who is here as well. Excellent, thank you. So we've been brainstorming this for the last few weeks, but this is really a generation of the Frankston Music Festival, which has run for the last 4 years. Last year was obviously a washout, but we've had some, 2019 was probably our most successful event. Rob might correct me, I think we had about 63 performances across about 20 odd venues over about a 3-week period. Many of those performances were free or minimal cost, with a couple of headline acts. There's the one up there before, Jeff Duff, doing a tribute to David Bowie. That was in the Arts Centre next door. I think year before last we had Russell Morris closing the event at the Frankston RSL. So there has been a bit of history there, and what we really are trying to do is leverage. This has been 100% community run. We want to try and leverage on what Frankston Council are looking to achieve with their dollars for their new signature event. If we can somehow dovetail and work in with that, it's a fantastic result for the whole community. So a great question, thank you. Any other questions? Yes, Kyle.
Yeah, could I ask, what is the main aim of the Frankston music community?
Well, that's another fairly good question. As I said, we are in the nuclear stage now, and at the very end of tonight we'll put up a display on there where we have a motion that we'd like all of you to vote for. All of you in this room now, you're actually the foundation members of the Frankston Music Community Network. So by buying a ticket and coming along here, you're it. So you get to make the decisions, and the first decision will be later tonight. So the aim is to try and seek financial support from Frankston Council and other sources, and become build on and work with Frankston Council to try and build the new signature event commencing in 2022. Yes, Simone.
The network, I guess, part of the aims of being a network is you're sort of a hub or a body. MPN Music Network, we reach out to Music Victoria, we get support and assistance and information of the entire music industry. It gets passed on to us, then we pass on to our local community. So I guess if there's any question that someone has in regards to the music industry, whether it's a soundproofing a venue to how much should I get paid per gig, that's what our network does. It provides information. It also provides support, opportunities for performance, and it just keeps everyone connected and builds relationships. And the landscape of the music industry in Australia as a whole is always changing. So there needs to be someone that's continuously providing that information and those changing, elements of the music industry.
I could also just add to a response to your question in that I think it gives you the opportunity, having a network, to set the agenda of what this, signature event will be, and really own it and guide it and support council, as the music in the community.
Okay, great answers. And thank you so much, Heidi, for that clarification. Don't you worry, I think we'll certainly be heading your way to ask questions and so on as time develops. Yes?
Just a question. Do you see it all aimed at one signature event, or do you see it as working with the peninsula and creating other opportunities which will feed in, if we go to the notion of original music, to something out of all these different avenues of music, which then flow into this signature event?
It could be a combination of all things. Now, the new signature event is an initiative or funding provided by Frankston Council, so it would have to be Frankston-centric. But that doesn't mean we can't have people from outside Frankston, as we do with our Frankston Music Festival over the last few years. So we're not really clear on how we'll be going and which direction, but we do know that with this funding available, here's a golden opportunity for people involved in the music industry to come on board and try and drive events across Frankston. So good question, thank you. Max, did you have a question?
I do apologise. I was out pouring wine before, which is probably a very important job.
Yes.
But not as important as the music. Right? So if there are any councillors or council officers here that were introduced when I was out there, I apologise, but can I ask the question, are there any councillors or officers from the council here?
Unfortunately, the council councillors are actually having a briefing at the Arts Centre next door tonight, and we did invite them to come in, but the logistics just became a little bit too difficult. So we're trying to organise. We've been working with one councillor in particular who's been very supportive, and we're hoping to get a briefing with the Frankston councillors in the very near future. Regarding council officers, anyone want to own up?
Well, I think that's a very big shame.
It is.
Because there are all these people who are here tonight enthusiastic. We've got important visitors who've already spoken as well. For them not to be on the receiving end of all this enthusiasm and what this room would like to do, it's probably not a good start for them. So I think how do we actually, the next move is to try and channel everything in this room to the council and get them sort of off their backside.
We're certainly going to work on it, and it's an agenda item. They are looking at funding for a new signature event, so we are going to be there. It is, yes, you're right. Just one moment, please. Yes.
I didn't actually realise how much we wanted councillors here, but on arriving I went to the wrong entrance and I met with a councillor and I found out that they were talking about reactivation of the city, and I said, have you thought about music? So I'm just saying that put it out there before tonight had even started, so it's hopefully on their agenda.
You have a question?
Yes. I'm a frequent user of the Frankston RSL, and I must admit I don't drive, so I'm very tied into this local area. I'm just wondering, are you projecting the prospect that one, musicians get employed, but they get a subsidy at the club or something to that effect to actually encourage new talent to come in? I heard the comment of the lady before saying that there's very little original music out there. But if you actually provide a subsidy to a club or a venue to actually encourage new music, is there anything like that? And rather than paying out a large sum of money for somebody to be there, but to actually say it will pay 50% of the cost, and you're actually encouraging new music to that effect. I know the Frankston RSL actually has a lot of, prior to the mania we're going through now, but they actually used to have a lot of little entertainment groups come in and play in their various little restaurants.
Yeah. There's quite a few venues around the place in Frankston that actually do hold open mic nights. I mean, the bowling club has one, and there's probably others. I'm not right up, which gives the opportunity for young up-and-coming musicians to have a go, even older musicians to have a go. So there is those opportunities, and your suggestion of possibly subsidising that could be something. It could be considered, but we need to investigate. Yeah. Yes, over there. The better looking of the two can start first.
I've got a couple of thoughts here. I'm hearing a lot about Frankston Council, which is probably the most useless council that can sorry, I didn't mean to say. But what about Mornington Council? That's what actually runs the peninsula, basically.
The Mornington Shire Council, they are supportive of the Mornington Peninsula Music Network, but we are trying to form the Frankston Music Community Network.
Okay.
So we're we're not limited, but we're obviously trying to get it up here at a grassroots level in Frankston, and we are leveraging off the knowledge from Heidi's obviously demonstrated of the Mornington Peninsula Music Network, which is why we've asked her to be one of our speakers tonight.
Okay, the second question I've got, I go up to Deniliquin a lot, which has got a place called the Southern Music School of Music or something like that. It's funded not only by the local council but by the New South Wales government, and they've changed that from a Wixie type footy-centric city like Frankston into a very much a music city. And the way they've done it is they've got a central let's say, organisation of about 20 music teachers working out of the Southern School of Music, that's gradually built up over about 10, 15 years, totally supported things like the youth muster, and absolutely changed Deniliquin's, how can I put it, mode of operation. And they've encouraged music throughout to younger people to build the sort of appreciation of music. I'm wondering if there's any plans to do something like that. It's similar, encouraging young people. They go throughout the schools, they liaise with many different communities, and they seem to totally turn Deniliquin's culture around. So, yeah, anyway, just...
So they're great points, and we certainly have our work ahead of us, but yeah, it would be fantastic that if we could make Frankston a landmark in Victoria to attract headlining acts and encourage local musicians to really take off. You had a call, and then you.
Only $5, that's so well done. I'm getting to what Heidi was saying. One of the reasons we got the attention of the council was because we're very inclusive. So we've got plans to do events for all ages and youth through Freezer and Push. We've just done a series of stream gigs into elderly homes and aged care facilities for people who couldn't get out. We're looking at a First Nations event or something for First Nations without being too presumptive there, etc., etc. And I think it's great seeing you all here. I'd be really interested to find out who you are, what kind of music you're into, and perhaps come and tell me later. But I think that the main thing is to reach out to as many groups as you can and get those stats and get those numbers, and then you'll get the councils on board.
Receiving, receiving
Good
funding.
points, good points. And last question from you.
I think I sit on both sides of the fence for this as a creative performer and as creative programming in different parts of my career. When you are building something from the ground up, I think it's important to ask the future of the, like surveys and things, ask your music community what they need and what they would like from this. So it's all very well to have a vision of, great, we're going to have this signature event and this is going to be amazing and it's going to be funded, but does it include what is actually needed to build a long-standing community? So, yeah, we're having gigs and yeah, they're going to be amazing people, but what about the people that are coming up through the ranks now? That is where the future is. It's not necessarily one event. And so perhaps sending out a survey with a set of questions, and then the advisory panel may find out what the musicians want and need and what the venues want and need. And I think that is how to build a long-standing music community.
Yeah, they're good points. We, our advisory board, 3/4 of us are actually fairly old. So hence there's quite a few older people in this room. However, it's really good to see a smattering of younger people as well. I'm not Carl sitting down the back there, but we need to spread the word, and the best way to do it is word of mouth through our network that we will be getting up off the ground. It's not going to happen overnight. It will happen. Alan.
Yeah, David. There's a lot of thoughts going through my mind about where this could be heading, but when we talk about signature events, the city of Frankston has some of the most outstanding venues, potential venues, and I wonder how we're going to get those people on board. Some have a vested interest, obviously, but the one that comes to mind is the Recording Gallery. I think a world-class venue, and maybe that's an area we think about talking to those people. But somebody raised the issue a moment ago about the young musicians. I was talking to a 20-year-old today from Frankston, one of the local schools, has just signed a deal for his band with Michael Chuck. I wonder, and I won't mention any names, but I wonder out of the 100 people in the room whether we'd even know this young fellow. So there are, the point I'm making is there are a plethora of young people that we've got to get involved in the network. You touched on it a moment ago, you had a lot of old farts in the room, David, but let's get the young people involved because they have a significant interest in developing their careers, and what better place to do it than City of Frankston.
You're quite right, Alan, thank you very much. Yes.
Oh, just to respond to that, I think part of what Music Victoria is here to do is to build that relationship so that anybody that comes to us that doesn't know about what's happening in Frankston can be led that way, and anyone that comes to Frankston doesn't know what we're doing comes to us, and it's a two-way kind of street in terms of really building that community as well as a statewide picture. So.
Okay, great. And second last question.
Yeah, so I wanted to say too there is part, like when we talk about the talent, both Heidi and I were involved in the Voice of Frankston, which was a massive initiative from people, Jenny and Funky Music, where they held competitions and stuff and supported the youth to get them songs and get their music careers up and going. And to talk about the talent that's actually around this area, it was amazing. Like, if you think that there's not young talent around in the Frankston, what you have to do is listen to 10 to 20 young singers, teen singers, and you will see that there's world-class musicians here in Frankston ready to go. When you talk about venues, it was interesting because we have really great venues that facilitate even internationally class acts here, but there's a massive disconnect from the availability of those venues for local artists. You can't just knock on the door and say, can I play here on Friday? Because there's a whole lot of hoops that you've got to jump to get in there. So any way that we could perhaps stop that from happening and be more welcoming as a city to the youth and for local acts to play, and stop all these young acts that are up and coming and even older musicians like myself going into play, where we think if we want to get a good gig, we've got to go into the city. We got to change that whole mentality because there's enough here.
You're quite right. I've been involved for quite a few years with Frankston High School, and we had some fantastic young students there and such passionate teachers in the music department that some of those young people coming through now are going off and studying music and making it their career. If we can capture some of those younger people to come on board with the network, and this is the inaugural meeting of effectively. We need to start somewhere. School holidays, we couldn't attract too many young students, but we need to build on that. We need to network, and that network is a key word. Go out there, work with our schools and so on, and work with the younger people and try and build on it and work on the various venues that are around the place and make them more achievable, easier to access for the up and coming young people. And last question there, otherwise we'll run out of time.
I just want to say that I think we should really keep in mind there are a lot of seniors who have contributed a lot to the industry, and once they get to like high 60s or whatever, in Australia they're almost discarded. Whereas somewhere like America, you go into a blues club, you got a 95-year-old player, playing the blues, and you go to New Orleans and it's full of 90-year-olds still playing. And in Australia, we don't actually value our mentors and our seniors in music. And for example, yesterday we were talking to Bobby Bright, who used to be Bobby Bright with Laurie Allen, and he wants to put together his one-man show about his life, but he thinks, will anyone buy it? They say to me, oh Bob, you're over 70. And so what's happening to this industry that we just that we've got no sort of, what they call living national treasures in music, because once they get high 60s to 70, they're discarded even if they're still passionate and would love to play till they're 90. And so I think our industry needs to expand to not only embrace the 16-year-olds, but to embrace those who are still in the industry, full of knowledge, who've lived the history, who know everything, but are just put on the scrap heap because they're pensioners.
Yeah, you're quite right, and you made as I mentioned a few moments ago, opening it up for young and upcoming singers or musicians, but also older people who want to have a go or may have dropped out of the music scene, for family reasons, things like that, and want to get back into it. This is a great opportunity to really leverage on a lot of that. And providing such wonderful music entertainment tonight, and the discussions we had earlier. The final function of tonight is to table a motion to formally launch the Frankston Music Community Festival, network. Your tickets tonight include your first year membership to the network, and we should have a display on, but it's not quite working at the moment. We're sorting it out. So here's your chance. The motion I'd like to table on behalf of the advisory board is that the Frankston Music Community Network is effective as of tonight, the 15th of April 2021. There are 5 aims for the network, and I'll read them out since there's several of them on the tables, on each of the tables, if you want to have a bit of a look. The aim of there we go, so you can read it yourself, so I won't bother reading it. But the motion is that the Frankston Music Community Network is effective as of tonight, 15th of April 2021. So I'm delighted to move this motion. It's a typo, isn't it?
Yep.
My watch is wrong. Okay, we'll fix that. Good to see someone's paying attention. So I'm delighted to move this motion, the amended motion. Can I call upon someone to second the motion, please? Brian Coughlin down the back, thank you. All those in favour of the motion, please raise your hand. Fantastic. Is there anyone who is against? No, that is great. It's great pleasure then that I announce that this motion is passed and that the Frankston Music Community Network is effective as of today, the 14th of April.
Yay!
Yes. So just as we finish up, I need to acknowledge quite a few people. Dainton Brewery, providing the beer, Masoni Wines, Mount Eliza Estate for the wonderful wines. We had Mick Kieran doing the sea shanties at the very start. We had Michael Mavrikic doing the audio visual. Thank you, Michael. And of course all the wonderful people who participated in tonight, providing music and discussion. So thank you all. On behalf of the advisory board, which comprises Rob Thurley, Brian Coughlin, Magnus Thurley and myself, thank you all for coming along tonight and contributing this evening. Thank you.